to, trying to, pick up prescriptions for family members and friends, like whatever that looks like as we're kind of coming back in? What does that look like?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And if I may, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all the mothers who might be viewing this, who have lost a child, who have had to bury their young person. Maybe it was at birth or in the NICU, or even later from some form of violence or even natural causes. I just want to recognize how tough Mother's Day can be for those women as well. And I just don't want to leave them out of the conversation
at all.
I think as it relates to, quite honestly, being a Black man in America, there's just a lot that comes with that. There's extra responsibility and burden, if you will. We can't not wear a mask because then we'll get fined or in trouble for that. If we do wear a mask, we're going to get followed wherever we go. And so it's really, really hard to strike the right balance. And I also think it's important to note that the problem is not ours to fix. And so I would just encourage anyone who's watching this, be mindful of your own biases and the things that you carry. And when you're ready to call 911 because you see that young Black man doing something, pause and ask yourself, would I make that same call if they were white? And if you can't say yes to that, then perhaps just let the situation go. I also think that as it relates to criminal justice in particular, we have already known the inequities that are in our criminal justice system. I mean, in particular, Michelle Alexander wrote the book, The New Jim Crow, which just lays out so many disparities. That book came out around the time I was a public defender, and I looked at court and what was happening and saw this is the new Jim Crow live and in the flesh. I had the opportunity to serve on a grand jury here in Suffolk County, and also saw some of the disparities and inequities that happen within the system. And I intend to, and not intend, I know I will, as state representative, embrace meaningful reforms that reduce recidivism in the cycle of incarceration. This is actually something that's near and dear to my heart. I have a neighbor who served time for a very serious crime. My brother-in-law, in all transparency, served time for a very serious crime. They came out, they were able to find jobs. They have not going back into the system. And I think we have to realize that if we truly believe that the sentencing is the punishment, we don't have to punish people when they come out by saying we won't hire them, by saying that we can't give them this loan for them to start their business venture, or the idea that they have. They've served their time, so now let's make sure that we're supporting them to be contributing members of society. And the other thing that's important to note is family matters a great deal. So when we think about how is it that we can reduce recidivism, community matters. And when we actually isolate our inmates from time with loved ones, from having communication with others, that actually keeps them bonded more in a different kind of way. And if I'm elected, I want to join the Massachusetts Legislative Criminal Justice Reform Caucus. There was a groundbreaking bill spearheaded by many leaders, but including Senator Pat Jalen, in 2018. At the time that bill was coming down, I was leading a nonprofit organization. We were able to get our members to write letters to make sure the bill was ultimately passed, and then again to write letters and make phone calls to ensure that Governor Baker signed it. And that is the type of bill that needs to be a living, breathing document that is evaluated every single cycle, because the community needs change, and we have to be responsive to make sure that those who have served their time are able to come out and be contributing members of society.